I can pick you up when you're heading down. When it all just sucks, I'll be your Charlie Brown. You can make me laugh when I wanna cry.
Welcome back to the Crochet Cradles with my friends over at Joann.com. I'm your host Mikey, part of the Stitch Along with our friends at Yarn Inspirations. We have this beautiful hat that is an amazing hat, and it's using 2 Ogos using Caron Colorama. What we have here today is a beautiful hat where we're going to be switching out the yarns every 2 stitches in order to create the spiraling effect that we see. So let's talk about the yarn first, because we have 2 Ogos, and I'm going to demonstrate also on how to separate your Ogo for color play. So here's our yarn of choice. It's Caron Colorama. It's a thick yarn and it's an Ogo, and when you turn it over you can see the 5 different colors that are available to you. So it's a really neat idea, and this one here is the transition of the spiraling that you see, and then these Ogos also come in a solid color, so we're using Pave the Way, and this is what it looks like. What I'm going to play for you now is a generic video on how to open one of these and how to separate the colors. So let's open our Ogo, and what you want to do is put your hands in behind, and see this hole? You want to just use your fingers and just push those flaps up, and the top will peel, and you're just going to pull back, and it is sticky right in the midpoint, and you're just going to pull, and there is your Ogo. One thing that you should know is that the colors are equal length all the way around, but they don't always start at the exact same spot. So a part of the color may be over on the other part of the side. So we want to take it out just like that, put that aside, and you want to pull like this, and this will reveal a plastic tie that is in between. So taking your scissors, and that will open it, and then grab that tie and pull, and that will take that out. So that's what's holding it, as a ring. So you can see that this color here is also on this side. So when you start your idea, you may want to start at a particular point if you want the entire color sequence. So if you wanted to start with this color and not this color, all you have to do is that you just have to reach in with your fingertips and just pull like this, and just kind of hold the colors, and you'll see that the Ogos will split apart like this. So if you want to do color play, that's exactly how you do it, and there is the color transition change right there. You can snip it and then begin at this point, and therefore you have a fresh color of this, and when this comes back into play later you can bring it back around and have the Ogo finished. So the way that this is wrapped is really quite fabulous, but it also allows you to change colors. So if you want to change any order of anything, just separate it and then just use it, and they recommend that you put it into a plastic Ziploc bag if you want to, but if you crochet as fast as I do, I just get a salad bowl, just put all 5 pieces into the salad bowl, and that's something that I would do for myself. So now that you know how to open your Ogo, you can do the color play. So you have A, B, C, D, and E. Remember that this is just a suggestion. You will use the same amount of yarn for all of those 5 colors that you're going to do. So if you want to change the order and make it different, that's completely up to you. So what you see here, see the color? It looks like it's all the same just for this large section. In actual fact, it's 2 different tinges. So it's always 3 rounds of one color, 3 of the next, 3 of the next, and finally as you get to the top, it's the last color that will be used in order to do the decrease at the top, and then you can see it's a nice mix for the pom pom at the top. So that's a kind of a neat idea. So let's go to the next page and let's take a look at the diagram. So looking at page number 2, you have a chart breakdown of all of the colors here, and Pave the Way, which is the solid color, is going to be the consistent thing here. So every 3rd row, once the 3rd row is completed, you will change out the yarn to a different color in order to do the next 3 rows, and etc. And when you get to the very top of this, what's going to happen is that we're going to come back to the pattern and we're going to shape the top just like you see here, and we're going to bring it to a conclusion. So it's a really neat idea in order to get this thing to move, and I just think it's a fun pattern. It's also using thick yarn, so you will notice that it will go pretty quickly. Let's take a look at an open Ogo next. As you're looking at an open Ogo, you're always pulling from the one side, and it's just pulling from this section, and the more that you pull, the more shorter this whole Ogo will get. So it's a progression bar, and when you look over you realize that your Ogo is getting much shorter, and I find it's very addictive in order to see your progress. So it's almost like a reverse progress bar. So you're gonna start off full, and as you're working through your project it'll get shorter and shorter as you make your way through, and I find it's actually kind of fun. So without further ado, we're gonna head on into the pattern now. We're gonna do the ribbing, and we're also going to show you a sample next. So I'm currently working on my prototype tester in order for me to teach this video, and I used the color called Blue Mustang for this. So instead of using the Concord Crush, I used that. Again, there's 5 colors. So I decided the color that I wanted to in it as I went, and it's kind of a neat idea, and you're going to notice is that this will work out pretty quickly. So you'll notice that every one of the 2 stitches, so you see 2 whites, 2 grays, 2 whites, 2 grays, it's very consistent, and the striping just goes automatically up on its own. So even if you turned it around, even at the stitch mark or at the slip stitching here, it actually looks really quite awesome. So that's one thing that you can decide to do. The colors are pretty subjective to you, and this kind of yarn really does work up quite quickly. So our first step is to make the ribbing, and this is what it's going to look like, and you'll need a 5.5 millimeter size eye crochet hook in order to make this. So we'll use the smaller hook for this one. Once we get started, it's just going to be half double crochets in the back loop only. It's going to create the ribbing, and at the end of this we need to lay this down and just let it be. Grab your tape measure and measure out about 19 inches, and that's where we're going to start, and then we'll begin doing all the really fun stuff from that point. So before we get there, let me show you how to make one of these, and then we're gonna then kick right into the body of the hat next. Let's start and use the smaller crochet hook, and let's begin with a slip knot, and I need you to chain a total of 12. So we're gonna do something immediately close to the beginning of this part. So I need you to chain 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Once you have your 12, what we're going to do at this point is that we're going to start the first row, and we're gonna half double crochet in the back hump of the chain, starting in the 3rd chain. So let's count it back. So 1, 2, and 3. Turn it over, get the back hump, and just half double crochet, and then continue down the back hump of each of the stitches all the way. This creates a very nice edge for this side of the brim, so that we can do a nice job at the end of this project. But before you move on to row number 2, after you get this all the way across, I need you to do something for yourself so that you know exactly where to stop when you get to approximately your 19 inches. At the end of this row there should be only 10 half double crochets. So let's count those out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So this here is the skipping of stitches, so you're not gonna count that one. Before you go any further though, I need you to grab a spare piece of yarn and use that spare piece of yarn as your stitch guide. So basically a stitch marker. So just pull this out, and just evenly on this side, just pull that yarn through, and you're creating a stitch marker on the right side of the work. So whenever you look at this side, you're always gonna know that you're the right side facing up, and if you don't see that, you're on the wrong side. So I need you now to continue to row number 2, and then I'll explain why this is important. So let's turn our work and begin. So when you chain 2 at the start of a row, in this one here, you are not counting that as a stitch. It's just a builder to get you to where you need to go. And starting in the very first one that's straight on down where this chain 2 is coming out of, in the back loop only, I want you to apply a half double crochet. So in here, if you go into both, that's considered a stitch. If you go into the loop that's closest to you, that's the front loop, and if you dive over and just go into the back one, that's the back loop. So when you half double crochet, you're favoring the back loop only, and you're gonna go all the way across. So remember that there's only 10 stitches across, so get into the next back loop, and you're gonna just go all the way across and come into your very last one right here. So when you come across, there should still only be 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the chain 2 here does not count as anything, so that means that we're right. So turning your work, and I can see that I'm on the right side of the work again. So just start up by chaining 2 and start immediately with the one coming straight on down and go into the back loop with a half double crochet across. So I'm gonna give you the instructions that where you need to stop. So you need to stop when there's approximately 19 inches done and you lay it down flat and just let it rest. So don't try to stretch it to get it to 19. The goal is that when you finish, you should be finishing on the wrong side of the work. So when you go to lay it down for 19 inches and just get it as close to 19 inches as possible, when you get to the end of the row of the 19 inches, it should be so that this here is facing down away from you. So get your 19 inches done and meet me back here in just a moment. So I'm now here finished my 19 inches. This side is facing down, so I notice that I'm on the wrong side of the work when I go to finish this. So that's something that you have to keep in mind. So make sure that you do measure to be approximately your 19 inches in order to get there, and that's where we're gonna pick up our journey. But before you go any further, I need you to take this last stitch here that we just did and then just join it to the very first side here and form a round tube-like shape. And so this will be then the top of the brim here, and that's where we're going to begin the body of the hat next. We're now going to begin the working in the rounds for the setting up of the hat, and we're still going to use Pave the Way. It's going to be the next round from this is when we start the fun colors. Right where we are, I want you to fold this in half. Exactly. Okay, so this is the one side, this is the other. On the other side here, I want you to put in a stitch marker at the halfway point. And the reason for I'm doing this is that it's going to tell us to equally space a number of 52 stitches all the way around. So if you know the halfway point, you can divide that number into 26. So 26 on this side, 26 on the other. So when you go to start crocheting, if you are getting to this point and you're going over 26 before you get there, you will notice that you were actually putting the stitches too close together. Whereas if you got to around here and you're only at 20 and you still have like 6 more stitches to put in and you're running out of space, it means that you're going too fast. So by putting it at the halfway mark, it gives you a marker on what you want to aim for so that it will keep the hat balanced. So the setup round requires us to change our hook at this point, and we're going now to the 6mm size J, and that's where our journey is going to start with the larger hook until we're done. I need you to chain up 1 and I need you to equally space 52 stitches all around. Again, I want to get 26 in by the time I get to the stitch marker and 26 on the other side coming all the way back. So now that I've already chained 1, I'm just going to just roughly start counting, and I'll do it live with you on camera. So we have 1, 2, 24, 25 and 26. So there's my first 26. So I have experience to be able to do that the first time, but if you didn't get it right, just pull it out and try again. So once you're at the stitch marker, just continue along and get the next 26 in, starting with the one right after the stitch marker, and then get yourself all the way to the other side, and I'll be back in just a moment. So I'm back all the way around. I have my other 26 in here, and what I want to do is that I want to join it to the first one up here. Before moving forward though, I'd recommend that you would count these stitches again. There should be a total of 52, and just run your eyes back through it and just count your stitches. I won't do it with you on camera, but just count and make sure that you have 52 just to make sure you have balance, and I'll be right back. So now that I've confirmed that I have my 52 stitches, it's time to go look at the pattern, and we're going to look at the chart, and I'm gonna show you 3 rounds going into the 4th round of how to do the coloring. So these 12 rounds here are going to be doing the main body of the hat before we actually start doing the decrease at the top. So what we have here is that we have the first stitch is gray, the next 2 stitches are the different color, and then we have gray. So everything is made up in a set of 4 stitch repeat. So the next row, number 2, is that we're going to have the first 2 colors of not gray and then 2 gray, and then the third is that fun color, 2 gray, and then this other color. So everything is in sets of 2. It's just a matter of just how you look at it from that perspective. And then when we start to do the color change again, we have to then continue along. So once you understand how the gray is moving up on an angle like this, it actually becomes really quite easy. The trick is that when you come with the slip stitch at the end of a round, you have to look at what's next, because what yarn color you use to slip stitch matters, and that's what I'm going to be demonstrating in the next 4 rounds. So I'm just gonna show you how this is gonna work, and then you can do the rest on your own, and that's all part of the stitch along, right, to being able to pick up new skills. So let's try and do round number 1. First stitch is gray, and then 2 of this other color, and if you look at it, it's a gray again. So if you look at it, there's gonna be 2 grays in a row, and then 2 of the other fun color, 2 grays and then fun colors, and that's how it's gonna work all the way around. As a side note for myself is that this here was the pointy edge of the cone shape that was pulled out, and what I would recommend to you is grab the yarn that is coming from the opening on the underside that is in the middle, and you will notice that it will come out really easy. So instead of grabbing this one here, which will cause the ogo piece to be able to roll and roll, you can just grab the middle piece that's out here, and therefore it will just stay stagnant on the particular tabletop or sofa that you have, and it won't roll away on you. So that's what I would recommend if I were you and you were me. When doing color changing like this, I recommend that one ball is up almost straight across from you, not quite straight but just off, and the other ball is directly this way. And the reason for it is when you're changing colors, it's easier to grab the yarn if they're in 2 different spots of the clock, in order to grab on and release one and let one go. And therefore if they're coming both at the same section like this, it actually gets a little more harder to be able to manipulate. So just put one probably on a coffee table in front of you or something in front of you, and it will become a lot easier. So we're going to pick up our work and begin, and I want you to create just a loop, so don't create a slip knot at all, and just create an extra long tail so that you can use to secure that in later. And we're going to begin round number 1. So you're gonna chain 1 and you're going to single crochet in the first one. Here's the thing, the top of the stitch of loop here is the top of the current stitch that we're working on. So you have to think about when we're changing colors on how you're doing the last pull through. So the first stitch is gray, so you're gonna pull through, but you're not gonna finish it, because if you finish it, that'll be the top of the next stitch. So you have to always think of in advance on what the next stitch is. So I'm going to loop the new color on and pull that through. So instead of pulling onto the gray and looping, I got the new color so that the new color becomes the top of the next stitch. So when we started this round, one color is gray, and then the next 2 are going to be this color. Now because you're starting a brand new color, and because you have the gray here, I recommend that you go right directly over both of the strands. Normally you would just go over the gray because it's not in use. So the next 2 stitches are going to be this new fun color. So we do 1 and 2, but you can't finish 2, because if you do that, it'll be the roof of the next stitch. So let the blue go and just pick up the gray and finish that stitch, and therefore that's the top of the next stitch. So the next 2 are going to be gray, so pulling on this one here just to pull any tension from it, and just go right up over top of the existing blue. This is called tapestry crochet. So you're doing 2 stitches of that color, release it, and then grab your new one. So at this point I believe that the straggler is in, the loose end is in long enough, so just let that fall out of the way and just manipulate the 2 strands that you're only playing with. So the next 2 are this color. So you have 1 and 2, and you can't finish that one because then that's the top. So you want to put this down behind you so that these strands are not gonna forever rotate and tangle. Okay, so the next one is gray and gray, but you can't finish that one. You gotta let it go and then grab up the blue, finish it, lay down the gray, and go right up over top of the gray. So you're just gonna manipulate between the 2 stitches or the 2 strands here in order to get it to work. So the trick is at the end of a round to know where you are in the roadmap essentially to know what stitches that you need to finish with and what yarn color that you need to do the final slip stitch so that it's ready for the next round. So I'll see you at the end of the round in just a moment. So I'm coming up to the end, and what I need to consider is that I have to just finish the last stitch here, which is gray, and the first one was gray. Okay, so everything looks in pairs. So 2, 2 and 2. So when you get around, this one and the first one is a pair. When you go to slip stitch to the first one here, because the next one in round number 2 starts off with the fun color, which is just the blue, then what I want to do is that I'm just gonna drop this gray and I'm gonna grab the blue and I'm gonna use that to do the slip stitch with, so that it's ready to go for the very first stitch for round number 2. So in round number 2, when you go to start up, you're going to chain up 1, and the first 2 stitches will be the blue, and so you'll have the other one just carrying up underneath and then dropping it and then picking up the next one, and etc. So I told you the trick to this one is to know how to finish a round and how to start another one by looking at what the color sequence is going to be. So when you're doing this round, everything should look like it's just shifting over by 1 stitch, which creates that spiral look that is really quite attractive in this hat. So please go around now for round number 2, and I'll be back in just a moment. So when you get around on number 2, the very last 2 are the same color, and I want to finish those, and I want to slip stitch to the first one here. And so now I have to look at row number 3 to know which one I'm going to pull through. Do you know which one you need to pull through? I'll give you a second to think about it. The first color needs to be the fun color. So what color do I need to do the slip stitching with? If you guessed the fun color, that's right, because that has to be used for the first stitch. So we're going to proceed into round number 3. So you just chain up 1 and start and get that gray to lie down right immediately, and before you finish that one you gotta just switch, and then the next 2 are gray, and then keep switching. So there's only 3 colors, 3 rounds for these colors. So after this round, this color is then technically done, and then I'm gonna show you how to switch out those colors and then move on in the chart, and then I'm gonna leave the rest of the chart for you to be able to solve. And it's really not that hard once you understand what you're doing. So go around in round number 3 now and meet me back here in just a moment. When you get around to number 3, the very last stitch then on here is the fun color. You want to do that one. And what do we have to think about? So we're gonna finish this, and we have to think about what we're going to do with this one here. So we're looking at round number 4. This color is technically done. So what I'm going to do is when I slip stitch in number 4, the gray is actually the new color that's going to start it up, but I also want to prepare and get rid of this yarn here. So let's begin then round number 4. Now that we've released that one color, we're going to introduce the next color here in just a few moments from this point. Chain up 1, and the first 2 stitches will be gray. So 1 and 2, but you can't finish that one, and you're just going to create a loop just long enough that you can use a tapestry needle and just pull that through to get it started, and leave that straggler down on the top of the line just to continue to hide it in. And so the next 2 stitches will be this color, and I want you to verify that the striping is actually changing and shifting. This is technically the second take that I'm doing, because when I did it the first time I was lining these stitches up completely with each other, so they weren't actually spiraling anymore. So you just want to keep an eye on your stitch work just to make sure it's working. And once you think that you have the tail buried enough, just leave it off to the side and we'll deal with it later with the tapestry needle at the end. So we're just going to continue along, and I will see you at the end of round number 4 just to make sure that we're right where we need to be, and then I'm gonna leave the remaining of the rounds to you, and then we'll work on shaping the top with the 5th and final color of your ogo. So let me just meet you at the end of this round in a moment. When you get all the way to the end of number 4, the last 2 are the fun color, which is the opposite of the gray. And then when you go to slip stitch, you want to look at round number 5, and we determine that the first stitch when we go to pull through is going to be gray. So you want to use that as your opportunity. So if the first stitch was the fun color, that's the one that you're going to pull through. So as you're progressing around, you're just going to continue to do it, and you will see that it's working up on an angle, and it's going to be fun and fabulous. And I want you to get all the way to the end of round number 12 now. And I actually have 2 hats in progress. Now when I said that you can do 2 hats, it depends on how big you want to make the pom-poms. So this is still using the same yarn from the original Ogo, and it depends how thick that you want that big pom-pom to be and how much yarn is left over when you're doing your second version. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna meet you up at the end of number 12, and that will be the end of that chart, and we're going to move to the shaping of the top of the hat now. As we begin shaping the top, just look at this color sequence. See this? This spiral will still continue, but we're going to be doing reductions in order to make those colors kind of come into a point. So as we begin, the first one, it says with the main color. So the main color then will be here, and then the next stitches here with the main color is just the first stitch, and with E, which is the final color of your Ogo, is that you're going to do 2 together. So you will do 2 together over the next 2 stitches with the fun color, and then you will be back and continuing along. So let's show you how to do all this. So main color is what we're going to be starting with. So when you do the final pull through of this here, the main color, which is the gray, should be the one that you do the slip stitch so that it can begin and go for round number 1. Let's begin. So get your final color ready, and that's gonna be the one that you'll provide a loop to, and you're going to start with your first round. So we're gonna start, and we're going to chain 1, and we'll do a single crochet in the first right here. But what we have to do is that the next one is going to be a 2 together using the new color. So don't finish that, and just get a loop up of the next color that you're going to use and pull through. And you're going to do a 2 together with this new color. So to do that, laying the stragglers down on top of the line, just going into the next stitch, pull through, and then the next stitch, pull through. And now you need to pull through all 3, but because the color is going to change immediately back to the gray, I need you to drop this and just grab the gray only and finish it. Now here's the thing, the next 2 are going to be the gray. So the next 2 stitches are gray. So just 1 and 2, but don't finish that one. Drop it and get your blue that you're playing with back up and finish, and then the next 2 are 2 together. So going in, pull through, and in, pull through, drop, and get the gray to finish it. So the next 2 are gray, so you're just going right up over top of the blue, and don't finish it, let it go and get the blue, and then the next are 2 together. So in and in, release the color, get the gray and finish it, and then do the next 2 as gray. So you're going to notice in the next round that we do is that the decrease is going to be using the gray color, the main color that we were playing with. So please do this all the way around. This is the first round of shaping the top of the hat. So when I'm coming all the way back around, there should be the gray, which is last, because there's a gray that starts, and we know in this round that there was 2 grays side by side. So when I go to look at the next row, it says with E, chain 1, so that is the fun color. So when you go to slip stitch here, you're going to drop the gray and use the fun color to pull through. Because it's all a shade of blue, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to name the color. So what we have here, is that you're going to use the fun color then for round number 2, and you're just going to chain 1, and you'll single crochet in the first one like that, and then you are doing a decrease, so you're going to let that drop, and then you're going to use the gray. So let's get our gray that's just kind of suspended here. There it is, and you're going to pull that through. So it's going to be the gray this time that does the decrease. So in and in, and then using the fun color to pull through. And the next one is just the one fun color by itself. So you're just gonna keep on switching pretty fast now because there's less stitches. So the next one is the gray and it's a decrease. So through and through, drop it, and then get the fun color and finish. And then the next one is one fun color by itself. So please do this all the way around. This is round number 2, and you're going to see the spiraling is still going up but is doing a reduction at the top. So let's see you at the end of round number 2. At the end of round number 2, when you get there, you're going to just slip stitch, and when you slip stitch you want to use the fun color to do so. And what this is going to do is that it's going to get us started. Now the main color is technically done, this gray, so I'm going to just trim it, and I'm gonna just deal with that later. I will show you how to do all that. And the very final 2 rounds we're no longer worrying about color changing, but we're still doing the decrease but only focusing on the final color. So let's begin round number 3. To do the final color, what we want to do is that we want to chain 1, and we're going to put 2 together all the way around. Okay, so we do the first 2, and then we do the next 2, and do that all the way around, and I'll see you back here in just a few seconds from now. So doing that all the way around, just continue, and I'll be right back in just a moment. So when you get all the way back around, just slip stitch, and then we're gonna do the final 4th round. So we're going to do the following, and we're going to chain 1, and we're going to do a single crochet 2 together 3 times in a row. So we're gonna do the first one, so there's 1, you'll do the next one, 2 together, that's 2, and then you'll do the next one, and that's 3. You'll single crochet in the next one, and then do the final stitches right to the end of single crochet 2 together, and there's only 3 of those in a row. So please do that all the way to the end, and I'll be back in just a moment. And once you're at the very end, you're just going to slip stitch to the beginning, single crochet 2 together, and there's a small little hole that will be left over. So using a little bit of the extra strand there from the ball, just trim it and pull through, and just use the tapestry needle, and what we're going to do is that we're gonna hide that in, but we're gonna collect the remaining loops that are left and pull those shut so that we have a closed hole. So just collecting the stitches, and what I recommend is just go around the hole and just start collecting, and then pull it all tight at the end, and therefore it'll be a nice equal balance when you go to do that. When you're at the end, just pull, and that will pull everything nice and shut. And what I would recommend is just go completely the opposite across, and then diagonally go back the other way, so kind of like go in a cross formation, and then point the needle straight on down and open it up, and let's go to the inside where all the tails are, and I'm gonna show you how to hide all those in just a few seconds. But for now we're just going to secure the middle here. So just tying it into a knot on the inside, and then just weaving it back and forth a total of 3 times. And once you're happy with that, you can just trim it. So any of the loose ends that we have, let's completely turn this thing inside out at this time, and any loose ends that we have to deal with in the same way. So let's deal with this white one here. So you're gonna deal with them one by one and stay within the back side of the project and feed it onto the tapestry needle, and just glide it through the stitch work on this side. So don't ever let that needle soak in to the opposite side of the work. So if you turn it over and you can see that needle, it means that you're going too deep. So just stay within the fibers of this side and just weave through once, and then twice, and 3 times. And you'll do that with all the loose ends that you have. So you can do those as you do it, as you go, or you can wait to the end. We still have to sew the remaining and the shut, and this is the brim, and what we want to do is that we want to put that onto a tapestry needle. If you did not leave an extra long strand, you just can create a strand and just close it using the main color, and just go completely the opposite and pull it together. So pinch it and just work your way across. This is called a whip stitch. And so the stitches should match each other because it's the same number, and you're just gonna work across from each other here, and this will keep the seam line so it's on the underside of the hat. Once you've gone all the way up to where the brim is, then just safely just stay within this side of the work again. Don't let that needle go onto the other side, and just drag it back through once, and a slightly different path going back up, and a slightly different path going back down. So the secret is back and forth a total of 3 times, and you're gonna do that with any loose ends as I mentioned, and then trim. So you'll get rid of all your tails, and then eventually you'll have a hat that doesn't have a pom-pom, so you can decide if you would like to do that, and we're gonna cover making the pom-pom next. So if you decided to make a pom-pom, let's do that. So the pattern says is to use your hand. So what I do is that I cut a strand that looks like about yay long, and what I want to do is put it through the 2 fingers right here, and I'm going to loop it around my thumb twice like that, and then on the back side loop it around my thumb, and so this strand will then just stay right where I want it to stay. You're going to take the remaining strands that you have from your yarn balls, and I am missing one color just so you know. So depending on how generous you want to make your pom-pom look is going to be the size of this, and so what I want to do then at this point is just take all of those strands that are here, and I want to just move them around my hands, and we're gonna count. So you're gonna say this is 1 and 2 and 3. So this is really thick. It's now at 20. I'm going to stop. I think that it's chunky enough for me. So I'm going to take these strands that were here, and I'm just gonna put it in front, and take the other strand that is left and behind, and that will be able to tie shut. So using your fingers as best as you can, what you want to do is that you want to tie this before you get too far. Just tighten it up and remove your hands out and tie. Well, I can't believe that actually worked. So now that I've tied, I want to do a weaver's knot. So weaver's knot is just being able to do opposite to what you did. So if you favor a way that you tie, the second time that you tie you have to be opposite to what you did. So I tend to go over like this, and then I go under like this. That's what I tend to do. So I've already done that once. So I want to do opposite to what that was. So instead of going like I normally would, I change the direction and I go opposite. This is called a weaver's knot. So whenever you buy yarn and it's tied on the yarn ball, that's what that is doing. That's why it's such a strong knot. And once the first knot is in, I'm going to then just trim the work, or trim the project from the yarn here. And now this is not tight enough, so I'm going to just turn it over. This is where my knot is, and I'm going to turn it over to the opposite side, and I'm going to tie again. So this would be like if I was using a pom-pom maker, and again I'm going to use the weaver's knot. So I always favor it one way, and then this one I'm going to do opposite to what I normally would do. And when you do that, it's virtually almost impossible, if not impossible, to undo the knot, which is what you're looking for. And then I'm going to use this to tie it to the top of the hat. But before I begin, I'm going to open up all these loops. So using your scissors, just trim along the edge and open up all these strands. As I'm cutting, noticing that I'm holding on to the 2 strands, that I don't accidentally cut those. Those are the 2 strands that we use to trim. So I'm working my way all the way around my pom-pom, and it's gonna look pretty scary for a bit. So make sure all the loops are open, and then all you're just going to do now is just shape your pom-pom to the size that you prefer. And again, it was very generous with using that much yarn, but that's what the pattern calls for, and that's what makes it fun and fabulous. So you can cut this to any size that you wish, and then you can apply it to your hat, which I'll show you how to do. So again, make sure that you hold on to the 2 strands that are being used to tie it to the hat so that you don't accidentally cut those. To secure to the top of the hat, I recommend tying it into a bow tie. So we're going to go in just with your crochet hook close to the center of the hat where you pulled shut, and just grab 1 strand and pull through. And then the opposite side of the hole, grab the other strand and pull through, and both of those strands then should be going through to the inside of the hat. And then I want you to grab onto them. So I still haven't done the loose ends yet, but I want to grab onto those, and I want to tie those into a bow tie. So if you ever have to sew this, or sorry, if you ever have to wash this, that means that you could just undo this bow tie and release it, and then once it's on, do the final shaping of your hat and pom-pom. Make sure that it's what you were looking for, and make sure that it's to the right size, and just do any fine trimming from that point. So this here would be how you would do this spiral hat. It's actually relatively easy, and in the end you'll have a really amazing looking hat, and just do any final touches that you need. So until next time, it's Mikey on behalf of Joanne as well as my friends at yarnspirations.com. Have a good one, and we'll see you next time here on the Stitch Along. I'll see you again. Bye bye.